WrestleMania 41 week and weekend is officially in the books. And I got to tell you guys, after a pretty underwhelming and lackluster WrestleMania weekend, Saturday and Sunday, both cards having their issues, WWE really delivered here with a solid Raw after Mania. We haven't gotten a Raw after Mania that's been worth a shit, and I don't know how long. You guys in the chat can tell me, because you'll know better than me. When was the last time we had a Raw after Mania that was as good as the one we had tonight? I don't think this was the best one of all time or anything, but in terms of what we expect on the Raws after Manias, we always expect a return, we expect a debut, we expect an NXT call-up, we expect a big angle, something like that, or a combination of everything. And that's kind of what we got tonight. We got a big heel turn out of Becky Lynch. We had Rusev returning. We also had Randy Orton attacking John Cena in the opening segment, which was pretty cool. And we had Braun Breaker, apparently, is a new Paul Heyman guy. And I can't think of a better choice for being another Paul Heyman guy than Braun Breaker. His name has come up before when we've talked about who could be future Paul Heyman guys. And you could kind of tell the way that whole final segment was set up that something had to happen there. And it was going to be a little bit more than CM Punk coming out, trying to attack Rollins and then getting beat up. You know, and they even had the graphics on the screen, like we saw Paul Levesque and Lee Fitting's name on the screen as it looked like the show was going to go off the air, and then Roman Reigns came out, and then Braun Breaker came out. So we had a lot of things to kind of close the show here, and I think WWE at least landed on their feet after, you know, a WrestleMania that I'm not going to say was bad. I didn't go off on rants, you know, in either one of my reviews on the show. It was just kind of like a little bit disappointing. You know, both nights had a couple of issues. I thought night one was a weaker undercard with a solid main event. Night two was a weak undercard with a weak main event. Or I'm sorry, a solid undercard with a weak main event, especially that opener with the three women. So overall, you know, the show still had its moments, and it's not going to go down as like WrestleMania 11 to me or anything like that. But overall, I was expecting more out of that WrestleMania, especially after that night two main event last night that we had a lot of complaints about here in the review. The fact that they were able to bounce back with a really, really solid Monday Night Raw that does give us a lot to look forward to in the future. We've had some Raw after Manias in the past couple of years that have really turned us off. You know, and usually there is the WrestleMania lull, you know, business kind of and fan interest kind of goes down a little bit. We see that every year here on the YouTube channel. Audience will dip just a little bit. Fans kind of mentally check out right after Mania just for a little while until they kind of wake back up. And I'm glad that WWE kept the ball rolling downhill to where you don't feel like you can necessarily take 6 weeks off and just ignore the product for a while. You know, there's things happening, and we are kind of entering a little bit of a new era. It's going to be weird to see a WWE with Seth Rollins being the Paul Heyman guy, and I think that's great that Seth's going to be getting all the opportunities. And with Braun Breaker coming into the fold, you know, he's somebody that, you know, I would also look at as a world title contender. So I think eventually what Paul Heyman might do is dump Rollins for Breaker. Really wish Braun Breaker didn't have that terrible name. But all in all, pretty good Raw tonight. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments about that. Give it your grades, you know, A, B, C, or D, 1 through 10. What did this Raw after Mania give you? And like I said, I think it delivered, and it's one of the best ones I can remember in a long, long time. We've got a few people saying 2015, 2016. I barely even remember what happened in 2016. That would have been after WrestleMania 32. What great thing happened there? What great thing happened in 2016? There must have been a title change or something I'm not remembering. But that was after Roman beat Triple H and everything, right? I don't know. Not sure what happened there. Raw after Mania 29 was a good one, too. That was where Dolph Ziggler cashed in. So we've had some Raws where we've had some cash-ins. But this, you know, that's another question I have for you. Some of these Raws after Manias, maybe in recent memories that have been really good, usually include a cash-in. So let me throw another question at you. What's the best Raw after Mania that doesn't have a cash-in? You know, that's another question for you, because we did all this, we accomplished all this without using and needing to use the Money in the Bank briefcase on the men or the women's side as a reason to make this show memorable. So you guys can let me know what you think of everything in the chat as we go through here. We are going to kind of just do an overall kind of review and recap of the weekend. We'll probably talk a little bit more about WrestleMania both nights, and we're going to talk about some of the news from today. A lot going on. I mean, the talent, what's good for the talent is they got to stay right in one spot for all of this. So this 4 days and 5 days, this whole week-long WrestleMania week of craziness for the talent, at least they were stationary at that one hotel. They just had to walk very short distances to the arena or to do their media or whatever, and they were still there tonight for Monday Night Raw, and they were there all during the day today doing media like crazy. And we had some interesting things being said. Paul Heyman said some interesting things on the Pat McAfee show, and Karrion Kross. I don't know if it was taped last night or if it was today. It was that Sam Roberts and Megan Morant deal, and Kross just went off. And it pretty much looked like a work, but, you know, some of the things he was saying had fans raising some eyebrows. But Kross is on the show tonight. I'm sure that's just part of something, and I was all set to like read you a transcript of the interview and stuff, but I'm not even sure if it's really necessary. But we might go through a few of the things he said today. Also, a lot of news throughout the weekend. We had WWE acquiring the AAA Mexican promotion, which is just insane when you just say that out loud. We're going to have some talking about that. We'll talk about that new Netflix docuseries that's on the way, WWE Unreal. They're pulling back the curtain on the creative process now, so more killing of the kayfabe. Don't really have much of an update on the lady that Steve Austin almost killed last night, but we want to talk a little bit about that situation as well. And WWE has revealed the location for the Survivor Series, and it's a place that good mic work kind of likes. So we'll be talking about that, and we will be getting into a full review of Monday Night Raw and anything you guys want to talk about. So if there's anything specific you want to say, I'll be answering all of the super chats. Otherwise, I will keep an eye on the chat in general, just to see if you guys bring up anything that's important and we need to get to. Daniel Bryan's celebration in 2014, yeah, that was probably pretty good. And the Shield turning on Triple H. Well, that was Rollins Shield turning on Triple H. I thought Rollins turned on the Shield and joined Triple H. Anyway, I think that was 24. That wasn't after Mania, though. That was, that was after the Evolution match or whatever. So, yeah, I guess I don't remember much about 2014, so it's not that memorable to me. Bryan just had a celebration, and the Shield turns on Triple H. Were the Shield with Triple H? Why would they turn on? I don't remember. I have no idea what that even means. Super fluffy toaster. But anyway, we've had some good ones in the past, but it's been a long time since we've had a fantastic Raw after Mania, and I think tonight was one. Let me just knock out a couple of these super chats, do some quick shout outs here, and then we will start rolling through what we're going to discuss this evening. Good to see Melissa. We got C Vela83 in the house, Zach Palgett, Paul E, Jay Lambo, Jacob A, Stone Cold 10X. We got Zane G, what up, dude? Garrett Osborne in the house, DJG, Young South Wavy Network, and the new one is here with $5. Thanks, dude. This is so weird. Cena as a heel, Orton as a face. We are in the multiverse. Yeah, we kind of are. That is pretty wild. Imagine, like, in that opening segment tonight, imagine if 10 years ago or 11 years ago in 2014, April of 2014, you just said to yourself, I am so sick of John Cena and Randy Orton always being on TV, always feuding for the belt, always winning. I'm going to quit watching WWE. And you have not turned on the product since that day. And you decided tonight, since it's the Raw after Mania, to give WWE another shot. Surely there's got to be different guys on top by now. And then you tune in and you watch that opening segment. It's pretty funny. But that's your Backlash match. And with Randy Orton RKOing John Cena, that, like I said, is the reason that Joe Hendry was the opponent last night and not Rusev, who we did see tonight. Rusev is back too. So much to get into. We also have 7th season, Muhammad, Indiana Minotaur, my boy Barry, Shellshock, Gene, Ken Maynard. We got Rodrigo, Joe M, Chaz Medeiros, David Brown, Yachiro. Also, Sonic Plays, good to see you. We've got Ben Espinoza, Dre, Sinister Rain 89, The Juliet, Domo 97, Angie, Tails Matter. We got Nate Dogg. Let me see, Stone Cold, I think I got you. Eric Guzman. And we got Mike Witt giving us 10 in the chat. Thanks for that, my friend. I stand by my opinion all along. I think Breaker could be an amazing babyface, but I guess I'm in the minority. And where does all of this leave Cody? Interesting, not one mention of him. Yeah, I mean, well, Cena mentioned him a little bit, but they weren't talking a lot about him. He was not advertised for the show. And, you know, that's kind of interesting because now you got to wonder what Cody is going to do and like what his mindset is going to be. I'm interested. I'm way more interested to see how Cody behaves after losing the title here than I would have been if Cody was out here celebrating after he retained. That might have been a little bit boring. This opens up the door to a lot more. And obviously, We'll talk about it, but John Cena, intends on holding this belt for a while. So I think the end game here is kind of a predictable one, and that's okay. But Cody Rhodes absolutely has to take the title from John Cena. And John Cena even said tonight, 36 dates. They even put it up on the screen. It was a 36 or 34. I think it was 36. 36 dates. So that's how many chances people have to take that belt from him. And he's going to have to survive. If he survives a couple more months with the title, which I'm sure he will, then he's going to have to worry about the Money in the Bank people and looking over his shoulder there. So I think the story is going to be he's got this amount of dates and you're going to cross them off one at a time. And if he gets down to that final date and he crosses it off and he's still holding that championship, then that championship is dead. He is taking and retiring the Bruno championship forever. And that would be wild if he did that, but maybe they do want to create a whole new legacy and have John Cena capping off that particular title's lineage, but I think that would be stupid. I think the end game here is for Cody to win the title back, and I am now pitching for the third or fourth time over the course of just 2 years, Cody Rhodes winning that goddamn championship in Madison Square Garden. I do not understand why WWE will not do this. Seems like a no-brainer to me. Whenever you plan on having Cena drop that thing, do it in the Garden. And I've pitched the December pay-per-view. They did that in 98, 97 for DX and The Rock, and do a John Cena-themed pay-per-view in December, title it something, and have Cody beat him right there in Madison Square Garden. Double moment. Cena gets to pass the torch to the new, flag bearer. Cody gets to win in the building that his dad fell short. All that stuff. So nice. Wonderful moment right in WWE's, hallowed ground. That's what I think they should do. But they won't. I know that won't happen. But I do think Cody beating Cena for the title will happen. It just depends on when and how long it's going to last, and if it's just going to be a SummerSlam type of thing, or if the plan is to have Cena take this all the way to the end. So it just depends. He's either going to drop the title, leaving enough room before he retires for the redemption arc, or he's going all the way to the end with this. And the way John Cena's demeanor is right now, he might very well retire as a heel. That would be kind of funny if he did that. It'd be like Ricky Steamboat and Tito Santana returning to wrestling as a heel tag team and destroying everybody. Like, what the hell? 1 year before they retired. Oh, my God. Let's see. Jay Boba, good to see you, man. Thank you. And good to see Max Pokebra in here, too. Michael Kumo, didn't hit you yet. Jay Boba's got $2. Cena joining Seth and Braun will be amazing. Maybe. Cena, I don't know if Cena, that's just too much. Cena's got too much going on. He's got this whole retirement thing. He's got his own story there. Plus, I think Cena's going to be more of a SmackDown guy. He was just on Raw tonight to celebrate. So the Cena and Orton stuff, that's going to play out over there on Fridays. And I think Rollins and everything going on with Rollins and Heyman will be going on Raw. And the way we saw the show close tonight, one thing I mentioned last night in the WrestleMania review, I said Rollins, after winning night one in the main event, the only thing he can do is challenge for the championship. They're going to have to do something with him to kill some time, because you don't want to give Jey Uso a month-long run. He's got to hold it for a little bit. So I think we're safe for Backlash. I think it's going to be a tag. I think it's going to be Rollins and Breakker against Roman and Punk. I think that's what they're going to do at Backlash. At least that's the way it feels. So that'll kill some time for Rollins to still deal with these guys before he can really set his focus on Jey Uso. And that's what I think is going to happen. Would be crazy if Seth's the number one contender for Jey Uso's title, and then we get to Money in the Bank and Breakker wins the Money in the Bank. And then you got Seth challenging Uso, Breakker's got the briefcase, and I can already see Paul Heyman turning on Seth and making Breakker his number one guy. So I think Breakker joining Rollins tonight, this is a way to get him to that next level. Mike Witt's got 5 more. The year of the heel, I guess, is 2025. Roman versus Breakker is going to be fun. Yeah, Roman and Breakker. We got some of that tonight. These two guys went at it a little bit, and that was tons of fun. So, man, there's all sorts of possibilities now. We got Rusev back, and holy shit. And with Becky turning heel, I wouldn't be surprised at all. If she's going to be a heel, if Becky's going to be a heel, why not just stand right alongside your husband? We talked about this possibility all the way back in the predictions. Is this the beginning of some sort of super faction that they are building? And I think Becky would make a perfect... We talked about that last night. Or after night one, if that situation could bleed into the main event, and we've got everybody, standing there together. And I mentioned Becky Lynch standing with her husband after attacking Lyra, but she's still tag team champions. And I pitched the idea of Becky being in the ring with 2 belts, and then Charlotte comes in, and Becky just hands her one of the belts. You're on our team too now. Fucking chuck Charlotte into this. Why not? Have some fun. Sean Swaby, I would love that. I would love if that's what Heyman called it. I would love if Heyman formed a dangerous alliance in WWE. 30 plus years. You're talking probably 34, 3 years, something like that, since the Dangerous Alliance was a thing. 35 years. When was all that? 92-ish or something, right? 92. So we're probably talking like 33 years. Holy crap. I would love it. Absolutely love it. Jonathan, thanks for the 5. Have a feeling that this new Dangerous Alliance will also add Becky and another face, Jeff Cobb, to complete the faction. Maybe Jeff Cobb. I don't know about Jeff Cobb. He's got to be somewhere, though. They got to stick him somewhere. Thank you for that, Jonathan. 7th season has got 5. The camera work was awesome. For a minute, I thought Braun was spearing Rollins, but it was Punk. Yeah, they did kind of tease you there. But he intercepted Roman first, though, right? So I figured he was going to be, once he speared Roman, I was like, oh, that's it. But yeah, he hit Punk with 1, too. Mike Witt's got 5 more from us, or for us. I didn't like Penta, just being a side note with the Judgment Day stuff. I think Penta's going to be fine. He's not too much. They just did a IC title match tonight, so I don't think it's too big of a deal. Joe M., thank you for the 5. Hey, Greg, will you be going to Survivor Series? I'm in New Jersey and hoping to hit up SummerSlam, assuming the lunatic in chief doesn't tank the economy by then. Well, I hope you can make it to SummerSlam. And yes, Survivor Series will be right here in San Diego, and I'll be talking about that in just a minute. All right, before we get into all of Raw, let's talk about that Survivor Series news real quick. Actually, we are going to get into Raw first, and then we'll circle back and do the news because some of the stuff, Raw's more interesting, so we'll get right into that right now. But during the show tonight, WWE did announce the location for the Survivor Series this year, and it is going to be right here where I live in San Diego at Petco Park. Now, we talked about WWE doing a Big Four pay-per-view. I think the only one they can do here is Survivor Series. Royal Rumble, it would be a bit too chilly. There is a chance it will still be relatively warm here in November. Gets a little cooler when the sun goes down, but you can easily have 100-degree days here in November in the daytime. It will be chillier at night, and as long as there's not too much wind or anything like that, it should be a pretty peaceful, pleasant night. But there is a chance it could be slightly chilly for the talent, but it shouldn't be that bad. Certainly not going to be like New York or anything like that. And there's probably a pretty good chance that they will not see any rain because we go 8 months at a time here without getting a drop. So hopefully the weather will all cooperate. And this is definitely a show I'm going to go to. You know, WWE's tickets are crazy expensive and stuff. And WrestleMania would have been a 2-night event to go and travel. This is only a 1-night event. Plus there's no travel. It's just down the road. It's downtown. And, I'm definitely going. So Survivor Series in November, join us. Maybe we can do a big meetup or something the Saturday before. Or I didn't catch if it's Saturday or Sunday this year. If Survivor Series is a Sunday, we'll maybe try to do a meetup the day before or the day of or something like that. We'll try to do something for anybody that is in town for that. And yeah, Survivor Series at Petco. Let me know if you're going. We will hang out. We will definitely do a meetup, and it should be fun. And an outdoor show. I guess somebody was telling me tonight that there's no War Games going to be attached to this one. I think the War Games is going to be done maybe or whatever. So they're not going to have to worry about that, but they're going to have to build a canopy. And if there is a War Games, they'll have to lower the cage from that. But it's going to be a cool, Petco is a really cool ballpark. And I've always wondered what a wrestling show would look like at Petco Park and how the setup would be. And I'm excited to go. I really am. So we will be there in November. Make your plans now. All right. So I was going to talk about some wrestling news, but compared to what we saw on Raw tonight, it's not as important. So let's start with the Raw review, and then we'll circle back, talk about some of that other stuff, and then we can really engage with the chat more and all that kind of stuff. Before we get started, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me. Please subscribe. Any super chats you send, I will answer tonight. We got memberships open. We got everything open. And also, I want to just issue a big, huge thank you to all of you. It was a fun week, man. Regardless of whether or not we have a bad WrestleMania or a good WrestleMania, it is so fun to do this on the channel. I took the whole week off. I have not worked since last Tuesday, and I don't go back to work until Wednesday. So I took a full week off just to be here, to soak it all in, to be up, to be live, to do this job, and just to cover this as best as I can and to give you guys videos and just content and just be up absorbing it. And it's always a lot of fun. I've been through 41 WrestleManias, all of them. Well, I guess the first one I didn't technically see, nor the second one. But, you know, I've watched all of these. I've been old enough to watch all of these. And ever since WrestleMania 4, I have bought every single one on pay-per-view. I have never missed. Well, actually, that's not true either. There's 2 that I missed in the 90s there. But every WrestleMania, virtually, I've watched. And if I didn't watch it live, I watched it on a scrambled pay-per-view feed, which I had to do that like twice as a kid. But I've watched every single one of these ever. I guess WrestleMania 10 would have been the first one that I've bought with my own money and bought everyone with my own money ever since then. So we're talking 31 years of that and 41 years of watching WrestleManias. The first one aired when I was 7.5 years old. And just being able to watch these and experience these throughout all of these different eras and chapters of my life. And anybody my age or any fan at all, you guys all have the same things. We've all been watching this as, kids all the way up till we're adults. I'm a 47-year-old man that is still just a giant fucking kid inside. I'm sitting here in my streaming chair right now. I'm sitting crisscross applesauce. I'm a kid. I'm a fucking kid. So I love this stuff. And it was very fun hanging out with you guys. Fun to experience these shows, watch them, and review them. And thank you to all of you who are here for all of it. A lot of you spent a good 15 or 20 hours looking at this bald fucking head all week long. So thank you for your support. You guys are great. And I appreciate all of you hanging out with me for yet another WrestleMania season. We've been through 15 of these together now on the channel, 14, I think, which is just nuts. So another one is in the books. WrestleMania 41 is now in the rear view, and now it's time for the Raw after WrestleMania in the T-Mobile Arena right here in Las Vegas. Interesting little tidbit, T-Mobile Arena is where CM Punk beat Hangman Page for the AEW title, and Punk was involved in the, I guess he had a better time that night than he did tonight since he got the shit kicked out of him in the final segment there, but I was at Double or Nothing that year, and that was fun to watch Punk win the championship. It was the only time I had ever seen him wrestle live, and he won the title. Since then, I've seen him a couple times, but that was really cool, and that's where it happened. But tonight, we didn't know who was going to open the show. WWE, as of like 2 hours prior to Raw, didn't have shit advertised for this. Didn't have one match advertised for this yet. So we didn't really know, and as we talked about, I think all the way in the predictions, I said, if Jey Uso wins the title and John Cena wins the title, plus you're going to have a winner in that triple threat, and they're all advertised for Raw, who opens the show? Who starts this thing? Could be any of them. Could be Rollins, could be Cena, could be Jey. We weren't sure. And Raw opens up, and it turns out to be John Cena. John Cena's music hits. He comes out, he's wearing the belt backwards. He's just got like the all black video entrance package now, just with John Cena in white basic font, whatever it's called, like the most basic font, Impact or Calibri or whatever the hell it is. So he's got just the most basic John Cena font. He comes out to the ring. He stands there and he gets like an ass load of pyro. I mean, a ton of pyro, which was really funny. And when he's done, he gives the ring announcer a prepared statement because I guess the ring announcer didn't do a good enough job announcing him as the new champion. So Cena's got this paper for him to read, and it calls him the greatest of all time and the last real champion and whatever. So John Cena's promo was a lot of the same, just a lot of yelling at the fans, calling us unworthy and we don't deserve him and, just shits on us and that we mean nothing to him. And he kind of even sticks up for Cody a little bit. He mentions Cody and the fans booing him. And Cena kind of gave him shit for it, you guys were cheering this guy, singing his praises, and then you boo him. That is what's wrong with the business, So guy basically calling the fans out for their fickleness. They didn't have a really good response for that. I feel like that actually landed with the fans where they're all like, oh yeah, we are kind of dumb, aren't we? I think Cena was right in that, and he called him right out. And he said that at WrestleMania, he outclassed and he out-wrestled Cody. And, this was after he just speaks a little bit, it was all very simple. He intends on taking the title and retiring with it. He puts the amount of dates that he has left up on the Tron there, 36 dates, I think it was, or 34, I can't remember. And basically it's a countdown. Basically looks like that's going to be the story. This many dates, and as that ticks down and gets closer to 1, if that gets to 0 and Cena is still holding the belt, that belt is gone forever. He's retiring it, taking it home. WWE is going to have to create a new championship belt and a new champion and just reproduce a new one. That's what Cena wants to do. That's his motivation. That is his goal. And he intends on retiring that belt. I really, really hope this is not something WWE is legitimately toying with. Like, do they really want to end the legacy of that title that can be traced back, to, the late 60s? That's crazy. I would not do that. That belt is just so rich in history, and I already am really disgusted with how WWE's treated some title histories and lineages in the past. And if they have any ideas of actually doing this, don't. Please don't. I don't think they will. I think the end game here is going to be Cody beating Cena for the championship. It just depends, like I said earlier, when that is going to be. If that's going to be somewhere like this summer, and then Cena's got the rest of the year to finish off his run as a babyface again, or if he really does take this title into that final appearance. And the fact that they're putting that total on the screen makes me think it's going to be like a honkometer type of situation. They're going to want to keep track of this. And the point is to get it down to 1. The point is to have it all resting on Cody's shoulders. Cena has got that title. He's survived all of these appearances, all of these title changes. There's one date left, and that's a match against Cody Rhodes. And Cody feels this immense pressure from the locker room, from the company. It's all up to him. He's in the same position that I guess John Cena was in when he faced CM Punk at Money in the Bank 2011. Although this time, WWE, when Punk left, they just brought out a second spinner belt and gave it to Ray the next night, right? Or the following week. Or gave it to Ray and Cena to have that match. So they were just going to crown a new champion anyway. But this time, Cena's making it sound like that belt, that championship lineage will also be dead. Just taking the physical belt, you got a million of those things. Just bring out another fucking belt. But Cena, apparently, if he does this will end the championship lineage. So it's going to be up to Cody to save the company, right? So, if you take that all the way down to number 1, that means Cena probably will remain heel all the way through it. And I'm at the point now where I'm not ruling that out. I think a lot of fans, all of us, have kind of been operating under the assumption that Cena is going to be a babyface when he leaves. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's actually going to retire as a heel. I wouldn't hate that. I wouldn't hate that at all. That's John Cena, creatively satisfying himself and perhaps maybe even us. The ultimate karma for the fans, to do that and kind of leave as a heel, but leave kind of with a smile, like I'm a bad guy, but, just give us a look, no, I still love you. And then when John Cena goes in the Hall of Fame, he can be a babyface, but when I can't see John Cena going to the Hall of Fame, and having the Owen speech, I did this all by myself. Nobody helped me. Not you, Mom. Not you, Dad. Not my lousy brother, Joe, or whatever, and just shits on all of us. I can't see that happening either. But, I suppose it's possible that John Cena could retire as a heel because, do we really need one last look at babyface Cena? We've had so many of these last looks at Cena. He came back and worked with Roman in 2021. He worked with Austin Theory at WrestleMania 39. He's been back in a couple of times, did the Firefly Funhouse thing, and has worked and returned. And we've gotten a glimpse of the old Cena, and he's received warm welcomes, but do we really need to see that again? We got so much of that, it damn near made the fans sick. Did one of my light bulbs just burn out? Did it get darker? It might have. I'm looking at this. No, I guess it just blinked. All right, we're good. So, if John Cena really, really wants to go out like that, I actually kind of think that would be funny. Just something ironic based on his career, and then he just leaves with a big F you. I mean, if it's done in a loving, fun kind of way, I'd be all for it. So we will see. But I think most fans kind of assume the plan is to still go babyface. But shit, if he retires heel, he retires heel. We will find out. But once Cena was done yelling at us and telling us how bad we sucked, he then told the fans to get the cameras out because he's in Vegas for the final time, and the last real champ is here. So he's the last real champ. That's what he's calling himself. And he poses with the belt so the fans can bust out their flash photography, those fans with the benefit, that is, of flash photography. And as he's standing there posing, such a beautiful camera shot, right behind, Randy Orton rises up from behind John Cena's shoulder, and Cena turns around. He eats an RKO. Orton picks up the belt, holds it, stands over John Cena's body, and there you go. That's your backlash match, and that's why Joe Hendry was the opponent and not Rusev. And we talked about this all through the predictions, through Saturday, through Sunday. Whatever's going to happen with Randy Orton, the plan was probably for him to beat Kevin Owens. And a lot of us had sniffed out Randy Orton versus John Cena at Backlash before Cena even won the title. A lot of us had our eyeballs on that match, and a lot of us were saying the same thing. Whoever Randy Orton's opponent is going to be at WrestleMania needs to lose, because the plan is to probably have Randy Orton versus John Cena at Backlash, and it's going to be easier to justify that if Randy Orton's coming out of WrestleMania with a win and not a loss. So once they made the mystery opponent for Randy Orton, I was like, shit, if it's a mystery opponent, he's going to have to lose. I was expecting it to be Miro until the mystery opponent was revealed on Sunday as Joe Hendry. I'm like, oh, there's one. Because I'm like, who could you bring out as a mystery opponent that you could beat? You know, because if you bring out somebody or debut somebody, you don't want them to lose right away. That's why it can't be Rusev. Rusev can't come back and then just get beat like that. If Rusev debuts, he wins. Same with Aleister Black. So I was thinking that maybe WWE changed their mind. Hey, Randy, you're going to have to lose. We're going to take advantage of this and use this as an opportunity to debut one of these guys. Instead, it was Joe Hendry, and Joe Hendry is perfect because he can lose to Randy. So Randy showing up, it looks like that plan was in place, and WWE, made creative adjustments to make sure that can still go forward. And they selected Joe Hendry, and I think that was smart because he's somebody that would be a surprise. Fans would like to see. He'd get a good reaction, and you can also justify having him lose because he's just a fucking TNA guy. And these are WWE superstars, right? Plus, Randy Orton's a legend. Didn't take much time for him to take care of Joe Hendry. So Randy Orton will obviously be getting the championship match against John Cena. And I would like to know how Randy Orton is going to, or how John Cena is going to survive that, because we've seen John Cena even talked about it today doing the media stuff. I think he was on Pat McAfee, right? And he talked about, he's very open about how he looks. I've lost a step. I look like shit. I'm not as strong. I'm not as fast. I'm winding down, and he does. I mean, John Cena is so jacked. He's always going to look that way. But, I kind of wonder if he kind of stopped going to the gym. Because even though he's still jacked, he just doesn't look like he's, like he's bulging out muscle. I mean, he might just do some light exercises now, but his heavy training days are probably long behind him. And the older John Cena gets, he's going to start getting that old man who used to have a lot of muscles body. It just turns into just skin. So it happens to all of us. So, John Cena is very, very open, about that. And Randy Orton looks so just tanned and orange and big and jacked. Randy Orton's 290. He's 290. So, I mean, you're going to have this bronzed specimen, Randy Orton, against this pale little dude with weird hair. It's going to be it's going to look so overmatched. Like, Randy Orton should beat the shit out of John Cena because Randy Orton has still been active. He's been around. He's been in feuds. He can still wrestle at a pretty high level, style, where Cena looks brittle. Cena's body looks fragile. Randy Orton, even though he's been through hell, and he's got a bad back and he's got lingering issues that'll plague him for the rest of his life, he still looks physically more capable than John Cena. So that's going to be a fun match to watch. I can't believe I'm actually excited for a Randy Orton-John Cena match. These two guys at it again. After all these years of, them, how many pay-per-views in a row did they work together? There was that run there between 2007 and 2010 or something where they worked 42 fucking pay-per-views in a row or something just ridiculous. And it was a really big turnoff. I remember complaining about Survivor Series 2013. I was like, what are they doing? Wasn't that the year that Cena and Orton closed the show with the two belts and then they did the unification? And that's when they had the two belts for all that time. I'm like, what is going on here? I was so tired of those guys. And, now that all this time has passed, and I was one of the more sane fans, I usually defended Orton and Cena, and if I'm tired of them, think about what the psychopaths in the IWC, and believe me, they were all psychopaths back then, what they were thinking. They were losing their damn shit over that. And I was just kind of over it. So all these years later, the fact that we're getting this again and it's okay. And not only am I not bored with it or turned off by it, I'm excited for it. That's good. Even though the main event last night sucked, Randy Orton and John Cena one final time feels like it's something that would have to happen in a John Cena retirement year. He's got to get one more match with Randy. And I'm hoping we can get a John Cena and Punk match as well. But Punk has got a lot on his plate. But Randy Orton, RKO Cena, and that looks like it will in fact be your Backlash match. And I just want to know, because we know Cena is going to retain. He's going to survive Randy. So how does he survive Randy? Do we finally see The Rock? A lot of people were voicing their displeasure about that. I said that in the review like 20 times last night. How in the hell did we get Travis Scott and not The Rock? The fact that it was Travis Scott and that was all. I don't think I'll ever be over that. So it's a good thing Raw did deliver tonight, because I might be quitting watching WWE if they would have shit the bed here. Pretty infuriating. So maybe we see The Rock turn up or something, or maybe we're just never going to see The Rock again, and the whole point of Rock being there was just to sell more tickets for Elimination Chamber, and that was it. But Cena's going to have to do something. He's not going to be able to use the same method that he used against Cody. Viper doesn't give a shit. If Viper's got the belt, he's going to use that belt. He doesn't care if he's a babyface or a heel. Cody struggled with it a little bit more. So Randy's not going to fall victim to that. So is Backlash where you reveal that Heyman has got more people? But I think the Heyman stuff is going to be a Raw, angle, and Cena's going to be mostly doing his shit on SmackDown. So what kind of trick would Cena have up his sleeve, do you guys think, at Backlash? How does he survive this? There's no way he AAs and pins Orton clean. So something's going to have to happen there. Cena's going to have to get some help. Maybe it's in the form of Cody. Cody comes out. We haven't seen or heard from Cody since. He comes out to interfere here when John Cena's trying to cheat, and then Cody fucks up and costs Orton the match by accident. And now Cena survives Orton, can move on to his next opponent. Cody and Orton can now feud and just do it without a title. But man, that just means Randy Orton's going to lose another feud, isn't it? So how many times does Randy Orton have to lose before he gets a win? I mean, did it again. Okay, so the light flickered off. I got one of those pro lights with like 8 light bulbs in there, and so one of them's being weird. I mean, maybe the plan is to get both Randy and Cena an extra one. Like think about that. What if they want to pad? What if they want to use Randy and Cena as a way to pad each other's titles? Like, what if Cena wins another one? Like, what if Randy beats him at Backlash? Now Randy's got his 15th or whatever it is. Now he's like 1 or 2 away. And then Cena wins it back from him. Hot tater it. I'm not against hot tatering. Take that belt, put it over there, give it back, over there. I don't give a fuck. So giving us that sometimes can be nice. Just for fun. We just came off a year-long run. Year-long runs can be good, but we just had a 4-year-long run before that. Pass this sucker around a little bit. Add some title wins to people's legacies. Now Cena's an 18-time winner, distancing himself a little bit further away from Charlotte, who probably will ultimately be the all-time record holder. We'll see. Give me your ideas there in the chat. Batista. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Randy will be too much for him. So maybe The Rock, and if The Rock got into that situation, then you got Rock and Randy, I mean, I think Randy can kind of match Rock with his just obscene physique. Randy's pretty jacked too. Maybe we get some Randy and Rock action for the first time since WrestleMania 20. Crazy. All right, so here's what happened next on Raw. Kind of interesting. And I had a feeling here, even during because it took them forever to announce any matches today, but once they did, we heard that there was going to be a tag team championship rematch. And I'm like, Liv and Raquel should win the belts back. I was really surprised they lost the titles last night. Really surprised. And so once they announced that rematch, I'm like, okay, Bayley should show up and cost Lyra and Becky the match and the titles, and Liv and Raquel should win them back. But something similar happened, but not quite the same thing. Bayley didn't come out and turn heel. Becky Lynch did. And that was after the match. Liv and Raquel ultimately won this match clean. It was a pretty good match, too. With the finish, Becky and Raquel got shoved off the apron, or I think Becky was already on the floor. Raquel got shoved off the apron. She lands on Becky, and they're taken out on the outside. And then Lyra, who's in a perfect oblivion position, gets hit with that by Liv. Liv pins Lyra and wins the championships back for her and Raquel. And then after the match, Becky, you could tell it was going to have, they telegraphed these things so much. Becky is tending to Lyra. She's helping her up. And I'm like, Becky's going to hit her. Becky's going to hit her. Becky's going to hit her. And then boom, big clothesline. And Becky beats the absolute piss out of Lyra. Hits her with multiple manhandle slams. Leaves, comes back. Officials got to pull her apart. Comes back again, getting herself a little bit more. So Becky Lynch did turn heel. We had a feeling that Becky might turn heel last night. So they brought Becky back to give her the title as a babyface for one night, then to turn her heel. All that's great. We talked a lot about this last night, how Becky being the partner of Lyra, I really hope there's a storyline reason for this and they didn't just screw over Bayley for the sake of it or for the hell of it, because I feel like Becky, you could still incorporate Becky into this and even execute the heel turn that you did tonight without having to screw Bayley over out of her WrestleMania match. I know it's just a little thing. Bayley's going to be fine. It's not the end of the world. Lots of people miss WrestleManias every year. Her being knocked out felt like it was unnecessary. If there's a storyline purpose for it, then I'm not going to be bitching. But I feel like everything they did here with Becky coming back, they could have still done it. You know, they could have had Lyra and Becky or Bayley win the titles last night, and then Becky come out and as a surprise return to celebrate with them, and then I don't know, and then turns on them here and costs them the titles. And I don't know. I feel like maybe Bayley's involved in this too. I don't know. Or maybe Becky's heel turn is more for her to join Seth Rollins. And I really like that idea of Becky and Seth being together in that big faction. Plus Becky is, other than Charlotte, probably the most decorated and well-known WWE women's wrestler, currently that they have and have had over the last 10 years. So she'd be a perfect fit for that. And I hope that's kind of what they're doing, because if Becky is going to be a heel, we mentioned this last night too, after Becky returned and as a babyface and won the titles. And I said, is this going to be like a Renee Paquette and Moxley situation where Becky's just going to be a babyface and then just still go home with her husband every night, despite the havoc that he's wreaking on everybody? So it would be weird. I feel like it's weird with Renee and Moxley. On Dynamite, the way, Moxley's trying to destroy AEW, and then Renee is just the innocent, interviewer who's even interviewing the opponents of her husband, and then she just goes home happily with him and everything's fine and she doesn't feel weird or nothing like that. So it just feels weird. So it makes more sense for them both to be heels. And if Becky joins Paul Heyman, I feel like that might be coming. And also, I think this probably means that Becky might be getting that Intercontinental Championship from Lyra. And again, I don't know what this means for Bayley. Unless Bayley comes back and teams with Becky and the two of them then target all the singles gold. They can be Becky and Bayley 2 belts, Becky and Bayley 4 belts. Like Bayley comes back, she joins Becky as a heel tag team partner. They win the tag. Well, that would be weird. They're not going to beat Liv and Raquel, but they eventually win the tag titles, and then Bayley wins the US and Becky wins the IC. I don't know. That's weird, but we'll see if there's more to it. Either way, I feel like Becky I keep confusing her names. I'm so sorry. I feel like Bayley got screwed for no reason. Then it was top of the hour, and the top of the hour segment is a New Day victory celebration. If there's ever a time to bring Big E back, it would be the top of the hour on a Raw after Mania. So top of the hour just for New Day to come out, cut their promo, interrupted by Maxine and Otis and Tozawa. And I'm just looking at the clock. I'm like, this is not the segment you would do at this time in this Raw on this night. This is screaming return or debut or surprise or something. So we just had to wait and get to it. And props to Maxine too. It's not much, but if you listen to the way she was talking, she's very good at talking. Not so much like cutting a promo, but just speaking. You know who else was like that? Sunny. Sunny was just surprisingly natural when she came to the ring. She didn't sound like she was rehearsing or reciting memorized script lines, and Maxine felt natural, genuine. She didn't say a whole lot, but what she said, I was just really impressed by. I'm like, she can talk. WWE should consider her for more talking stuff. Give her a talk show, perhaps, one day in the future. I thought she did great. And she said that the New Day have never beat Otis, or last time they were in the ring with these guys, they lost to them. So they propose a match. New Day's not really in their gear either. That's why I'm not buying any of this. So they get in the ring and it looks like we're going to have a match. I'm just like, who's coming out? I just couldn't think of it. I'm like, what is, something's happening and what the hell is it? And then the lights go out, music starts, and we see Rusev on the Tron. Crowd pops hard. This is new music. This is not the music I think Rusev had when he was here last. And he comes out, looking a lot like that guy Miro from AEW. I swear the two of them could be twins. And he comes out, runs out, Machka, and he comes to the ring, and the New Day is like, all right, peace, we're out of here. And then Rusev just takes out Otis and Tozawa and beats the hell out of them. And that's Rusev's debut. Now, as great as this Raw after Mania was, this is kind of like a disappointing debut for me because he's not in any storyline. He just came out and smashed a couple of, lower mid-card guys. That's it. He didn't come out and start a program with anybody unless he's going to have a handicap match with these guys first to really get him over. Let's just have him smash Otis and Tozawa in a 2-on-1. Either at Backlash or on Raw to get him like moving or whatever. But, I would have had him come out and attack a big star. So it sounds like, Rusev back in the company, he's not going to be any higher on the card than he was before. And according to Deadline, they are reporting, I don't know how accurate this is, but they're saying it's a 2-year contract for Rusev, which 2-year contracts are pretty rare. And especially in WWE. And I feel like WWE would want a little bit more reassurance. But I guess, at the same time, he's not going to go back to AEW. Clearly, that did not work out. So he's not going to, in 2 years, say, oh, let's go give that a shot again. So they probably feel like they're safe in terms of losing him to anywhere else because where the hell else is going to go? You go to Japan, but, he's probably fine in WWE. And maybe it was his, if it's true, maybe it was his idea to do a 2-year contract. He doesn't want to get himself in a situation because he's been in that with WWE and with AEW where he's kind of been unhappy and he's been stuck. So maybe a 2-year is just a way for both parties to protect themselves. But based on the way he debuted here, this doesn't speak to me like he's going to be a big main eventer. This is not, there's so much going on with Braun Breaker and Rollins and all these guys. I don't really know where Rusev fits in. So I think Rusev is going to be an IC and US title contender. And I don't see anything in the main event picture for him based on the way he debuted here. He can get in line for Jay. He might get a title shot. He might get a chance at the World Heavyweight title, that that Cody's belt. And he's never going to sniff that thing. But it's possible that, maybe the World Heavyweight title, but I kind of feel like just based on the way they brought him back here, that IC or US is going to be his ceiling. Hopefully he'll prove me wrong. And apparently I didn't confirm this because I just saw it scrolling by, so I didn't put it in my notes, but did they say they signed Lana to a Legends deal? So they might wind up bringing her back. The fact that Lana is a legend is weird, but I guess she is. But the fact that both of them are kind of back in the company now is kind of fun. We cut backstage. We have Judgment Day, Liv and Raquel there, very happy that they got their belts back. And I'm so happy too, because I was really looking forward to the idea of Dom and Liv having belts together. And I was kind of bummed when Liv lost hers. So now all the belts are back in place. And Dominic is there with his IC title. I was so happy for him winning the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. I thought it was a great moment because I'm a big Dominic fan. And the Fatal 4-Way set it up for a way that you could do it and it wouldn't be weird or not believable or whatever the other things that fans like to complain about. And Dominic's now with the title, and Balor shows up. And then, of course, Balor and Dom had their issues. Dom pinned Balor. So I had a feeling that Balor was going to play it cool here. I didn't think you're going to do the full-blown implosion yet. Because when Balor walked in, he had the serious look on his face, and then he smiled. Hey, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So he's like, no sweat. Liv kind of even gets in his face. Right, Balor? As long as the title's in the clubhouse, doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter, right? Huh? Right. She's hilarious. So Balor's like, yeah, that's all cool. But you can tell it's literally eating his insides out. But he's playing it cool on the surface. And Dom is defending his championship later on against Penta. This was all kinds of fun. Another good example of why Raws after Mania can be fun, and I appreciate Triple H for giving us a fun one here because he gave us something that was not on anybody's bingo card, and I feel like he just did it for funsies. We've got Io Sky coming out to cut a promo to celebrate her victory. last night at WrestleMania, and I think Io Sky, Ripley, and Bianca had a tremendous match. I praised it hard last night, and I believe overall that's probably the second best match on the card. I think you got to give the nod to the main event on night one, but that match was great because of story, not necessarily what was going on in the ring. Bianca, Ripley, and Io really did tear it up last night, and I fully enjoyed that. And the right woman won. So Io is out there now to speak. And she's doing good, She's English, obviously not her first language, and she's doing well. And she said, Rhea and forgot about me, and Bianca forgot about me, but you did not forget about me. And the fans just applaud. She's the best. I love Io Sky. And she is then interrupted by Stephanie Vicaire, which, wow, hell yes. NXT Women's Champion shows up. She was double champion as of a couple weeks ago. She relinquished the North American right. They just crowned a new champ there. Congrats to Sol Ruca, who we love on this channel. Vicaire's out there now after successfully defending her title at Stand and Deliver. And I don't think this is necessarily a call-up. I think they've done this a couple of times now. They're starting to bring people up before they bring them up. Pre-board, what does that mean? To get on before you get on? So they've been bringing people up, calling them up before they call them up. So I think this is more of like getting Stephanie Vicaire's toes in the water a little bit, and then she'll be back on main roster probably full-time whenever she drops the NXT title. But this is to give her a taste of the main roster, get her some exposure in front of an audience like this the night after WrestleMania. And I am a big, big fan of Stephanie Vicaire. We watched her at Forbidden Door a couple years ago against Mercedes, and I was like, this girl is good. I didn't know much about her up before that. Once that match was made, I started looking her up, watched a few matches and all of that, and I'm like, oh yeah, she definitely looks like somebody I would like to see more of. And then that match turned out to be really good. WWE scooped her up, and she's been in NXT, and WWE is, I think is just better at just, showcasing and starting to turn these people into stars. And Stephanie Vicaire, there are women with good looks, and then there are women who have whatever the hell Stephanie Vicaire has, because I don't even know how you describe the beauty that this woman has, and she's just awesome. She's got the complete package, and been loving her in NXT, and I'm glad that they're putting her over huge. So she comes out to interrupt Io Sky. Holy crap, these two together. This is a dream match in my mind. And so Stephanie says a few words, and I'm kind of laughing here because I'm like, I wonder how this promo is going to go. But the fans are listening, and they're not shitting on it. They're letting these women speak, and what they're saying is landing. And basically, it's all about respect. Stephanie's, I'm here to show you respect, just with a K on the end. Here to give you that respect. And so she's here to give her that respect. I love it. They seem to have, a mutual love for each other, and then kind of like a match is proposed. And then Adam Pearce comes storming out there like, no, wait a minute. And then it's like, wait, well, if this is what you guys want, let's do it. So I'm like, hell yeah. I'm so glad that he didn't come out and say, wait. We got to sign a contract. Let's do this at Backlash. This is the type of match you do on the Raw after Mania. This is just giving us Stephanie Vicaire versus Io Sky for funsies. That is the Paul Levesque I want. That is the booker I want. Somebody, because Tony Khan will do this. Tony Khan will just look at the shit he threw at us on Wednesday, on a week that belongs to WWE. Oh, here's Mercedes and Athena. Enjoy. I did. Here's Takeshita and Ospreay again. Enjoy. Oh, I did. One of the best matches in Dynamite history. And that's kind of more a common thing over there, where you can just be given this like just beautiful match. Just here you go, fans. If you're a wrestling fan, gobble this up, and I feel like that's more something that I get from Dynamite rather than Raw or SmackDown, even though we get great things on Raw and SmackDown. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. Love this, it just do it type of thing. Plus it gets Vicaire on the main roster. And you knew we probably weren't even going to finish and we didn't. And they were able to cover the way we wouldn't get a finish out of this match in an even more fun way. So there was like brilliance on top of brilliance here. I'm giving high praise to Mr. Levesque because I liked everything about this. So Pierce makes the match. We now get Io Sky versus Stephanie Vicaire. No titles on the line, obviously. It's the NXT Women's Champion against the WWE Women's World Champion. That's awesome. It's like remember when Eddie and Triple H had their match? Whew, so good. So really, really fun match here. It was an enjoying experience to watch them work together for the first time that I've ever seen. So a little while through the match, Roxanne Perez hits the ring, nails Io Sky, causing a disqualification. So she starts going after Stephanie, because I think the two have a match tomorrow on NXT, I think, right? And then Julia shows up. Julia comes out and attacks Stephanie Vicaire as well. So you've got Julia and Roxanne. They're both putting the boots to Io Sky and Stephanie. And then Rhea Ripley comes out to make the save. So she comes down, she clears everybody out. There's a little stare down there with Rhea Ripley and Julia. So at one point you had Julia, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, and Stephanie Vicaire all in the ring together. That was not on my bingo card at all. And that's just a fun thing to give us. Look at the little teases. Just a reminder. You know how we got Braun Breaker and Jacob face-to-face a few weeks back? Just little, hey, look at the possibilities. Because sometimes you forget, how many damn people are in this company. And oh shit, I never even thought about that match, type of thing. So, you remember the NXT is just filled with really, really solid women right now. My God, Stephanie's there, Julia's there, Jordan Grace is there, some other great prospects. And Sol Ruka is going to be the future. I like Jada Parker a little bit. The other one that used to hold Carmelo's girlfriend that held the North American, she's good. So there's a pretty good crop down there. And there's a pretty good crop at the top, in the main roster too. So there's some really fun potential future matches that we can get. Rhea Ripley, is the top star in the company, so there's going to be a lot of women that she's going to work with, and a potential match between Ripley and Julia one day, Ripley and Vicaire one day. Oh yeah, Greg would like some of that. So that whole thing was fun. Way to go, WWE. Those are the type of Raw After Mania segments I like. And then it was time to hear from the new World Heavyweight Champion, Jey Uso, who, of course, as we know, beat Gunther to win the championship on night one on Saturday. And it was a match that was, it was about what I thought. It didn't suck as bad as I thought it would. I'll put it that way. A lot of fans were confused and didn't really like Gunther tapping out. I thought it was a little odd how he tapped out so quickly. Maybe a weird finish, but I think that was part of the story since Jay's been choked out, Jimmy's been choked out, and now it's time to choke out Gunther. I wasn't bothered that much by it. I think I was more surprised than bothered. But Jay, of course, is now the champ. So he makes his big grand entrance. And I was a little worried that the audience wouldn't be kind to him, because the audience has been booing like Bianca. They were booing Cody. And I was worried that maybe he wouldn't get the warmest welcome, even though he's supremely over. And he definitely did. The fans, he had his big entrance. Everybody was doing the thing. But it might have been just a little bit less crazy than it would have been if it was in New York or a different city. Las Vegas, call it whatever you want. They were doing the thing this week where it was Bizarro World. They acted like the heels. Fans tend to do that sometimes. And I've been in crowds like that. We saw that for many years during the John Cena era. And sometimes you would have crowds just kind of pulling a reversal on you and pulling the WrestleMania 18 thing. And it felt like Vegas was doing that a little bit. But with Jay's entrance, it felt like it was mostly love there. So I'm glad that Jey Uso, considering the reason they gave him the title is because of how over he was. As soon as he wins the title, comes out the next night, they're booing him. That would have been too weird and sad for me. And this whole piece of business was so weird. I think this whole thing was WWE messing with us a little bit, just toying with us a little bit, because it's Raw After Mania, so you got to just have your heightened senses, like you're looking for everything, you're reading into everything. I normally only watch Raw with like one eye, just keep one eye on the show while I'm busy doing whatever, playing tiddlywinks or whatever the heck I'm doing. I'm just not paying complete attention. But on Raws After Manias, we're all like really looking hard, like staring at everything, picking apart everything, reading deep into everything that everybody says and does. So Uso comes out. Before he comes out, they show this beautiful video package, highlighting his career. It was all very nice, all very beautiful. He makes his big entrance, like I said. Fans are loving it. McAfee's on the thing, doing the thing. And he's emotional, and big "you deserve it" chants, and he vows to be a good champion. He vows to show up every week and, and yeet and be there for the fans and all that stuff, and basically just says he's going to be a champion we can all be proud of. And then Sami Zayn's music hit, and I'm like, oh, okay. And as soon as Sami Zayn's music hit, Jey Uso does not look pleased. I thought Jey Uso would be super happy. These guys are bros. I didn't think there's any sort of dissension or heat between these two guys, at least with their characters. At the moment, I thought they were kind of closer than ever, so I was surprised that Jey seemed upset that Sami was interrupting him. So Sami comes out, and he kind of starts being a little bit on the passive-aggressive side, basically the opposite of what Karrion Kross was in that Sam Roberts and Megan thing. He mentions how not being at WrestleMania hurt him, and he kept saying, I gotta be honest. He kept saying shit like that. And I'm like, what is this about? But then he goes, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, and I love you so much. You deserve it. And they hug, and then the music starts playing, they start celebrating, they start going to the corners. And I'm like, okay. I don't know why Sami Zayn would turn on Jey Uso here, but this whole thing is constructed to make me think that. And so I'm like, I don't know why he would turn on Jey, but it feels like he might. So I'm watching the two on the corners, and then Sami jumps down, and he walks over, and he's standing there. Smile is now off his face, and he's looking right up at Jey. And I'm like, oh my God, when Jey jumps down, he's going to get hit. And then Jey jumps down, and I think there was a little bit of a hesitation there, like he thought he might get attacked, and then I think Sami hugged him again, and then Jimmy Uso's music played. And now Jimmy's coming out. And I'm like, okay, Jimmy's coming out. What the fuck is going on here? So I think this whole thing was a big celebration, but it was WWE having a little bit of fun with us by making us think, because this is just not the way you would normally do this, I wouldn't think. So then Jimmy comes out, and there's more teases. At one point, Jimmy and Sami are standing on either side of Jey, with Jey in the middle. And I'm just waiting for the double super kick. They position themselves like 3 times that way. And I'm like, double super kick coming, because Becky's clothesline to Lyra, you could feel coming. She's going to hit her. And they were doing this. Becky telegraphed the hell out of her clothesline to Lyra, Paul Heyman at WrestleMania, those nut shots you could see coming from across the street. And so just everything that they were doing here felt like, and again, I was struggling to understand why. I'm like, if these two guys turn on Jey, why? Why would Sami and Jimmy form a heel alliance and attack Jey? That makes no sense. So, but the way they were doing it, it made you think like it was going to happen. And then it doesn't happen. Okay, everybody's still getting along. Nobody's attacking anybody. And then they get out of the ring, and the cameras are staying with them. And they're going all, I'm like, okay, they're going to finally grab Jey and throw him into the Tron at the stage, into the big LED screen. And so then they're there, and they're all celebrating. The camera's still on them. And I'm like, okay. And then boom, we're off to the advertisement. And I'm like, Jesus, everything they did there made me think, I was just waiting. There it's going to be. It's going to be there. It's going to be there. It's going to be there. And it never came. And I'm glad that it didn't come, because I wouldn't, at least right now. I think Sami dropped a couple subtle hints that maybe a turn for him is coming in the future. Maybe now that Owens is out, Zayn might be plugged into what Owens is going to do, and he'll turn into the evil guy. But I like Zayn. I don't want him to be a babyface. Or a heel. I like him. So maybe they did tease some subtle stuff here, especially when Sami was waiting for Jey, like he could have attacked him if he wanted to, type of thing. But the whole thing it made me laugh. And I'm like, WWE, I think that whole segment was made for fans like me. Let's just make this mark think that there's going to be a turn and then do nothing. So I thought that was funny. But good point. Jay's smart enough to know he's got a target on his back. So even Sami Zayn, he's got to make sure there's no, ulterior motives with him. Because even his friend, now that he's the title holder, could be coming for him, but it still would have been weird for him to be attacked. I think Jey and Sami have enough respect to where they should have a relationship strong enough to where if Sami said, hey, mind if I get a crack at that there championship? Jay's like, hell yeah, bro, name the place. We better go talk to that bald guy, make sure it's okay. But yeah, of course, you can have a championship shot. So it was weird. I thought for sure they were setting up another heel turn. I'm like, another heel turn? We've had so many already. Up next was AJ Styles backstage. He's interviewed by Jackie Redmond. And Karrion Kross shows up. And this is good. This means that whatever he did today, I don't know if that recording was today or last night, if you guys didn't see it, Karrion Kross sat down with Sam Roberts and Megan Morant after WrestleMania and commented on AJ's loss to Logan Paul. And he started off by staying pretty much in character, calling AJ Allen, and, losing to Logan Paul legitimizes him. But then he started just going into like this rant where it sounded like he was complaining about not being used at WrestleMania. And he had a couple of things to say about, I think it was Goldberg. Let me see if I can find that part. There's just, I've got the whole transcript here. I'm just going to read you a couple bits because it's long. And he says, you know what? Want to know what the best advice I ever got? It was from Bill Goldberg, 2021, back when I was in the Twilight Zone. You know what I mean? I'm wrestling for gasoline. It was awesome. Let me tell you all about it. Bill goes, hey, Kross, you know what? You remind me a lot of me. I go, I think we have different styles, Bill, but I really appreciate that. Do you have any advice for me? He goes, you know what? You just got to be a good soldier. A good soldier is what he said. So I decided to be a good soldier. You know what happened? They released me, and then I come back. And you know what being a good soldier gets you? Everybody here, just in case you're wondering, you want the scoop back here? Being a good soldier gets your times cut. Being a good soldier means that people come up to you and say, hey, you got any great ideas? Yeah, here it is from Scarlett. No, that's a little too great. We're looking just for good ideas. That's for those guys over there. That's what being a good soldier is, okay? I cut your teeth, or I'm sorry, being a good soldier is coming to your hometown where you cut your teeth, where you got started, and not being on the card. It's all about viral moments now. That's what it's all about, viral moments. Well, Guy, everybody's been telling me that I've got to become undeniable, and as soon as it happens, they ignore it and shut it down. I never asked to wrestle Randy. I never asked. That happened organically. You ignored it for a viral moment, and good on Joe Hendry. Nothing against him, but you ignored it, and the crowd told you exactly how they felt about me on SmackDown when I was eliminated from the Battle Royal, and you ignored it. Become undeniable. My ass. You want a viral moment? On behalf of all of the true fans in professional wrestling, Guy with the suit and tie in the truck, go fuck yourself. That's from Killer Kross. No, fuck it. They leak my fucking contract information online. I have no privacy, nothing. And we did recently hear that Karrion Kross is in a contract year. And so he's cutting this enraged promo, just rant here, implying that WWE is the one leaking this stuff to Sean. I think it was Sean that broke the news, I think. So at one point in the rant, Scarlett starts tapping him on the shoulder like, babe, can we not get fired today? But when I watched it, I feel like it was Triple H, just go say some shit, because Kross can talk. Kross has always been a good speaker. So it felt like a work to me. But and plus, when he just said the guy in the truck, if he was really shooting here, he'd be naming motherfuckers. He'd Triple H, he'd say something about Vince. Who knows what he'd say? So I feel like if he was really angry and he was just out of his mind, red-faced mad, and he just wants to burn his bridge completely, he'd probably go even further than when he went here. But it's not necessarily what he said. It's just kind of how he said it. It was just very, very good. People were like, holy shit, you got to watch this. 30 of you tagged me in this today. Got to see this. He just shoot on WWE and he might get fired. And I'm like, no, this is totally work in my eyes, but it's really well done to where it's done well enough to where it certainly makes you question. But, tonight on Raw, we saw Kross enter that AJ segment. So, everything's fine. But, I don't know, if this was his way of, at the very least, at the most, I should say, it's a work shoot. To where maybe he is a little bit angry and he's thinking about his contract and knows that, hey, I got to do something. This is a contract year. WWE might not re-sign me. He's already declined an AEW appearance in the past when he was released the first time. So I think Kross would prefer to stay in WWE if he could. So maybe this is his way. This is what like was an audition tape. Hey, assholes, I can do great shit if you let me. And that was him just showing them. So, hey, when my contract's coming up, look at this talent you would be throwing away. Maybe there was a little bit of that in there. But whatever it was, he didn't get any trouble for it because he was on Raw tonight. Oh, shoot. I've zoomed in too far on my notes here. Where do I usually have them? There we go. Good enough. Right on. What was next? I zoomed in too far and then I lost my place. All right, so AJ is there talking with Jackie, and Kross shows up. And AJ basically, Kross is basically trying to get AJ to turn heel. And AJ says, I'm not going to do that. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I didn't like who I was. I'm never going to go back to that. Never in a million years is he going to go back to basically being a heel. So we'll see if the end game here is AJ actually going heel. We got AJ Styles and John Cena teaming up. Oh, my God. I mean, maybe it was revealed all along. Like we get some flashback cuts or something like that where you see Karrion Kross talking to John Cena in the background of interviews from December, November, or something like that, or reveal some sort of like connection there where Kross is actually the reason that Cena is the way he is now. So after this next piece of business was also good. So Jey Uso has already had his big victory celebration, right? So I was thinking, well, Gunther must not be here. But Butthurt Gunther shows up. We come back from break with him at the announce table yelling at Michael Cole, because I guess Cole and Pat were going on about how he tapped out, I guess he just didn't like the way they called the match and the opinions they had during the match. So he's mad. He's taking his anger and frustration out on these guys. And since this is a Raw after Mania, I could tell, I'm like, there's going to be something physical here. And the first thing I thought of was Jerry Lawler protecting Jim Ross from Taz when Taz was getting in his face, and that led to a match. And so I was thinking, I'm like, if Gunther is screaming at Cole here, Cole and McAfee are boys. They won't shut up about their bromance. I swear they're having an affair on their wives with each other. I'm positive of that. And that's fine. I think they make a cute couple. But McAfee's not going to sit there and let Gunther harm Michael Cole. So either way, McAfee's going to get physical here. I can already tell before anything happens. And then Gunther's still yelling, and then Michael Cole stands up, and then like an idiot, he goes, well, to be fair, I'm not the one who tapped out. And of course, then Gunther grabs him. McAfee jumps in, and officials like separate him, and then McAfee turns his back. Gunther lunges, locks him in the choke, and just starts choking out Pat, and he won't let go. They have to pry Gunther off of McAfee while Cole stands in horror, and finally they get Gunther off of him, and they have to get Pat McAfee to the back. And, and this was kind of funny. Then you cut backstage with, I guess it's Pierce, and he's getting medical attention for Pat McAfee, and he tells Michael Cole, he goes, we got Tess going out there. I guess that's what they call Tessador. You got Joe going out there. Take the night off. And I'm like, what does that mean? We're going to get Joe Tessitore as Joey Styles for one night for the rest of the show? And then Michael Cole's like, no, fuck that. I'm not going to let some bully keep me from doing my job. And then Pierce is like, good on you then. And he lets him, and Cole just storms right back. So Cole being a badass here, coming back like The Undertaker at WrestleMania 9. I don't think so. He might have gotten chloroform, but he's going to do his job no matter what. So he comes back. He sits down, and he's there. He's back in the announce table. And I thought that just meant that Gunther was still going to get him. I thought that meant Gunther was going to come in from behind through the crowd and grab a hold of him and choke the shit out of him. That's what I was expecting. But Cole was there to call the next match, which was for the Intercontinental Championship. It was Dominic defending against Penta. And Balor was at ringside for this, and Dom is way too trusting. I mean, Balor was acting like he's all cool with this backstage, but you know that it's still eating at Balor, obviously. That's just, what he's doing on the surface. But inside, it's eating away at him, and I think what they're going to do is have Balor eventually take the title off of Dominic, at some point. But Dominic should have known that, I should at least be weary of Balor. He's accompanying me to ringside. If he's secretly mad about me beating him for the title, he could cost me the championship here against Penta. But I felt pretty confident that we wouldn't get a title change here because Michael Cole spent a lot of time during the match selling what had happened to Gunther. So I don't feel like he could properly call another title change, another one-night run, for WrestleMania. So instead, I figured Dom has to survive his match with Penta, so maybe Balor is going to help him win, and the two will continue their good relationship until it finally implodes and we get that match. But instead, it was the returning JD McDonough, who's been out for some time. I don't remember how long it's been since he took that hellacious bump But he's back. He shoves Penta off the top rope, allowing Dominic to capitalize and hit the 619 and frog splash for the win. And Judgment Day in full force celebrates with the titles and the ramp, and they seem stronger than ever. And usually factions or tag teams seem stronger than ever right before they break up. So something's definitely going to be happening soon with Finn Balor, and I think it's only a matter of time before he's gone. All right, after that just left us with the main event segment, which we talked about in the beginning. Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman coming down to the ring together. Rollins proclaiming himself the winner of the main event. And we knew Punk was in the building. They showed him earlier, so Cult of Personality hits. Punk makes a beeline for the ring, attacks Seth, but Seth is able to take him out because he goes for Heyman. After he attacks Seth and takes down Seth, Heyman's by himself. Punk starts making his way towards him, and that's when Rollins comes from behind and is able to stomp CM Punk. And then Paul Heyman declares Seth Rollins the number one star in the industry, and that's when we saw like Paul Levesque and Lee Finning's name, and I'm like, they're really going to close with this? I feel like something else is going to happen. This is just Punk coming out and getting stomped, and you can do that on any Raw. You guys are on a roll. Big Raw after Mania type of things have happened on this show already. So I did not believe that. I'm like, the show's not done. The show's not done. And then Roman comes out. Roman's music hits. I'm like, okay, Roman's here too. I can be into that. No problem. And so he comes in, he spears Rollins, and then he Superman punches Paul Heyman. Down goes Heyman. And then Roman is setting Paul Heyman up for the spear. And Heyman's waddly, but is trying to get to his feet. Roman goes for the spear, but then he's interrupted with a spear of his own by someone in a hood, a hooded man. Takes off the hood to reveal it's Braun Breaker, who just lost the Intercontinental Championship last night. And I was wondering where he was in that earlier match. Like, was he not mad about losing the title? I'm surprised we didn't see him show up and try to get him some Adam. And I thought about that when I was watching. I'm like, where's Breaker? So the fact that he wasn't out there, and then he takes out Roman, and now we've got this like tease of Roman Reigns and Braun Breaker. And Roman Reigns gets one punch in on him, I think, on the outside of the ring, right? But Breaker and Rollins basically demolish CM Punk and Roman Reigns together. And Paul Heyman gives him a big hug. Rollins gives him a big hug. Braun Breaker is now a Paul Heyman guy as well. And Heyman said, he said in his interview today that he might be shopping for some more meat. And that's one nice, juicy steak right there in Braun Breaker. And he's a perfect fit. He is like the absolute perfect type of guy you would want a Paul Heyman guy to be. And I feel like they should really strap a rocket to him, because I think heel or babyface, he's got potential. Brock's a lot like that too. Brock made a really fun babyface and a fun heel, and he can play different versions of both. Brock was, just the straightforward ass-kicking, I will just bite your head off and swallow you heel. And then he also was a heel for a while where he giggled and danced a little bit, but was still equally scary. And Braun Breaker, I think, can have a lot of fans behind him as a babyface. He's got promo abilities that can be good on both sides of that. Just the way he speaks. He did the Steiner math over the weekend, which was tremendous. He's got that Scott Steiner voice, and he's just so high octane in everything that he does that I don't see how he's not the biggest star in the company at some point. And he's so young. And so now you got to groom the next crop. So you can clearly see in a few years, when you get to your next Roman, Rollins, McIntyre, your next core, your next core of Cody, your next core 5 main eventers, it's going to be Breaker is, one of the top guys, probably top 2, top 3 type of thing. How Roman and Cody are now. Braun's going to be a Roman or a Cody for sure. And now, getting that Heyman rub, that's a really big deal. So we'll see if there's more to add. He added one here that's kind of just a random one. So why would you stop there? Becky Lynch is now a heel, a vicious heel, because she beat the shit, a lot of anger behind that beatdown of Lyra. So if she's got also the backing of Heyman as well, maybe she does. It's going to be weird for Becky to be a heel, but not be a part of that group, considering that the legacy that she has and how dominant she has been over the women's division. Heyman likes people who win a lot and have a lot of dominance and have a lot of victories and championships, and Becky has that. So we'll see how this goes, but it feels like what we are getting is a WWE Dangerous Alliance, and that touches my heart. That's awesome that we're going to get a faction resurrection that's older than the NWO, and Heyman forming a Dangerous Alliance. If they add more members, it'll be fun to compare who's each other's counterparts. Like who's the Austin, who's the the Rude, who's the Arn. That's going to be fun. So Breakker being a part of this, it feels like they're kind of telling you a story that's going to be paid off long term. Heyman we know him as the slimy worm that he is. At some point, Heyman's going to have to dump Rollins with the back problems and all of that for Breakker, right? So maybe it's Rollins beating Jay for the title, and then the power struggle with him and Breakker will begin, and then maybe, like I said, Breakker wins the Money in the Bank, or this whole thing carries us into... I would like it to last. I would like this Dangerous Alliance to be their big story or faction of 2025. You had the Bloodline a couple years ago. You had the Judgment Day last year, right? So maybe the Dangerous Alliance is really going to be the big faction that's dominating TV. And you can extend that all the way through the rest of the year. And if you've got Seth Rollins winning the World Heavyweight Championship, then you have Breakker win the Royal Rumble. And then there you go. You got Braun Breakker and Seth Rollins next year at WrestleMania. So we'll see. But I think if the Dangerous Alliance is going to be the faction that's going to be dominating Raw television, I think that can be a lot of fun. That's television I will tune into, especially when you think about how many more people could be added. Because I mean, the Judgment Day wasn't even that strong of a faction, and we had a lot of repetitive matches. But overall, that stuff was good. A lot of what the Judgment Day did, a lot of those matches, even though it was repeat matches and stuff, would be good. I think if the Dangerous Alliance would provide much more exciting type of matchups. And we'll see if we get that tag team match. If that's what they set up here at the end of this, is that what they're going to do? Is it going to be Rollins and Breakker against Punk and Roman in a tag match at Backlash? I feel like that's probably what we're going to get. That's a time-killing match for Rollins, because at some point Rollins is going to have to challenge Jay, but this gives him something to do until it's time to do that. You don't want to take the belt off of Jay right away. Give him a couple of months with it. And then maybe you do it at SummerSlam, but I think you can kind of do it before. There's probably a Saudi show coming up at some point as well, but I think Rollins could take that title from Jay after the next couple of pay-per-views, in my opinion. So fun stuff. Good episode of Raw tonight. I'm so happy to have a Raw after WrestleMania that's exciting. That's exciting. Braun Breakker becoming a Paul Heyman guy, standing with Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch turning heel, Rusev coming back. We had a title change tonight. All sorts of good shit. Randy Orton and John Cena kicking off their Backlash program that's probably going to be dominating SmackDown TV, and the formation, or the beginning of the formation of what appears to be a Dangerous Alliance. And the Dangerous Alliance had women in it, right? Medusa. So maybe Becky is Medusa. And yeah, I like all that. I like this. So hopefully there's more to be added. And I'm wondering who else they could stick in there. Maybe a tag team or something, but I don't know. My brain's fried from WrestleMania week and weekend. It's been nuts. So yeah. All right, let's see what you guys are saying here in the chat. Juliet Steiner math led him to joining. Probably. See if I got all this. Okay, I got those. Yep, okay, we're back on track. All right, next question is from Mike Witt. Maybe Aleister Black costs Randy at Backlash. I don't know. I think Aleister Black is debuting on Friday, because they flashed the date of the 25th on Friday at that last vignette, right? So I think he's making his debut. And that makes sense, because Miro debuted tonight. But that doesn't mean he can't cost Randy at Backlash, and that's something that they could do. because Randy, like I said, and you're just answering my question from earlier when I said, how does John Cena escape? How does John Cena survive Randy Orton? I think Randy Orton would murder him, in a legitimate, wrestling fight. So Cena's going to have a trick. He can't resort to the same trick that he used on Cody. That's not going to work with the Viper. So Mike's got Aleister Black. That could be. That could be. Chris Ludek, my friend, thanks for the 5. I'm glad Liv and Raquel got the belts back. Liv deserves it based on her WrestleMania outfit alone. I know, hubba. I'm starting to think Big E won't ever get cleared. Yeah, me neither. I think if he was ever going to come back, we had a couple of good opportunities to bring him back, and so it's sad. Mike's got 5 more. Killer Cross should be the new version of Punk this year with the pipe bomb he just dropped. Cross versus Logan Paul. Maybe I would love Cross versus Logan Paul. And maybe they could, why can't he be called Killer? Why would TKO care about that? They own UFC. What the fuck would they give a shit? So I feel like maybe he could be turned into Killer Cross at some point. He can take the name back and use it in WWE because they had to change it. I thought Killer was too offensive or scary or something. I don't know. How scary can it be? Mike Witt, you got 2 for me. Rusev versus Gunther, maybe. Yeah, Rusev and Gunther. Imagine they have Rusev beat Jay and be a better Gunther than Gunther. Maybe. I would love that for Rusev. I just don't know. I feel like, and I hope my instinct is wrong, it just felt like I'm already not feeling good about it. Like, oh, we'll just have you come out and squash Tozawa and Otis. Like, I kind of thought you'd stick them right into a program, get him going with somebody. So now it feels like they've debuted him, but they don't have any creative plans for him, because if they did, we would see that unfold already. Instead, we're probably going to get a handicap match on Raw, and he's just going to be in some matches, and he'll just be on the roster, kind of like how Penta is. He's there doing stuff, but it's like he's just there doing stuff. That's it. Hey, John Redifer, I want to thank you so much for that very generous $20 drop that you put in earlier when I was rambling. Hope you're doing amazingly, Greg. Happy WrestleMania. I have one question for you. What's your favorite recipe, and which beer do you like to have with it? It's almost grilling season, brother. Thank you. You're the man. I don't even know if I have a favorite recipe. There's so many things that I like. But since you said it's grilling season, I love grilled flesh on the grill. I love a steak, chicken, fish, anything put on the grill is delicious. Asparagus. So since it's almost grilling season, I'm just going to have to go with a big, juicy ribeye on the grill along with some shrimp. Baste it with a little bit of butter. Grill some vegetables on the side. Have the missus in the kitchen whipping up some mashed taters. And then sit outside as long as there's no flies and enjoy your dinner. And these days, I kind of drink light every day on the stream, or not every day, but whenever we're doing watch-alongs and I want to have a cold one, I drink 805s, very light Pilsner. If I'm drinking for more fun, I might have a nice local IPA or something like that, but I just kind of drink pretty chill. But if I'm having a steak, it's going to be probably a nice, chill, easy-to-drink Pilsner or Mexican lager or a glass of red wine. And you're the man, too. John Redifer, thank you so much for being here. Mike Witt's got 5 more for us. Thank you. Just remember, everyone, we all thought Cesaro was going to be a huge deal when he was a Hangman guy, and look how that played out. Just be careful. It's not the same. Breaker is a can't miss. Cesaro should have been a can't miss as well, but I think at that time they were also putting McGillicuddy and Ryback and people like that with Paul Heyman. It meant less back then. I think they were chucking a lot of guys with him as a way to hope that they can get these guys over. I think Breaker is there because that's where Breaker belongs. I don't even think they're using Breaker or using Heyman as a way to launch Breaker. I mean, in a way they are, but also Breaker fits that. And if they have this idea, hey, let's make a faction for Heyman, they're selecting him to be in that, where I think with those other guys in the past, they're like, oh, let's put him with Heyman, and see. But we already know that Breaker, this can't fail. Right? And you can make a lot of reasons why Cesaro didn't and guys like that. I mean, I think Cesaro should have, on paper, been fine in that situation and should have been a big star coming out of that, but it wasn't they weren't giving him a whole lot. But I think this is going to be top of the storyline stuff. You know, Cesaro and Heyman, their alliance wasn't dominating the TV in the main stories. This is going to be your main Raw angle, I'm assuming, for the year. And Breakker is going to be right dead center of that. Where with Cesaro, you know, he wasn't the same thing. So I think the way it's going to play out is going to be different than Cesaro. But there have been, Mike's right, there have been Paul Heyman guys that have not worked out. But Breakker's different, you know. And I think a lot of us, Mike, you're old like me, man. You know, we go all the way back to Greg. We've been watching this stuff long enough to trust our instincts on things. What do you see in Braun Breakker that could fail? You know, at least with Cesaro, as great as he was such a beast. You know, he didn't have that explosive promo ability and whatnot. He was strong as a fucking ox, and he's tremendous in the ring, and he's great and everything. But when it comes to that intangible, that we're in pro wrestling here, somebody that can really stand out. And Breakker has that. He has that with his words, with his energy, with his demeanor. And Cesaro checks a lot of boxes, but he might not check as many as Braun Breakker. And for people who have been watching wrestling forever, you can just look at him and say, that guy's money. And the only people that can fuck that up is probably WWE. Because apparently Braun Breakker doesn't have any bad habits. So I wouldn't worry about him, you know, going AWOL or going on some drug bender or getting wellness policy violations or anything like that, or domestic violence issues. He seems like a pretty straightforward cat. And I think WWE sees that too. And since he's so young, man, Braun Breakker could very well have just like a 25-year career of just legendary moments. Quarter century long of nothing but dominance. And we're going to have to remember that fucking name. It's just so heartbreaking. I just wish this guy, his name was anything else. I wish his name was Butt Sniffer. Like anything. Your new WWE champion, Butt Sniffer. Give me something. Because it's terrible. Why can't he be Rex Steiner? What the hell was wrong with that? It's badass. They talk about who his family is. You know, why wouldn't you want to carry on that name? They want to give him something that they can trademark. And every time I complain about names, fans say the same. Well, he picked it. I don't give a shit. I don't care if Jesus Christ picked it. It's a stupid name. And that's not an excuse. I didn't like Dolph Ziggler's name, but he picked it. I'm like, I don't care. I picked good mic work. It's a stupid name. So it's just dumb. And I don't like it. And I hate that this guy is going to be such a massive star and we're going to have to deal with him. You know, it makes wrestling sound stupid, you know, like, yeah, hey, Mom, Braun Breakker won the title. It just, I don't know. I don't like saying the name out loud. It sounds stupid. If any of my friends are watching me do my live stream, like, he's talking about this guy, Braun Breakker, like with 2 Ks. Oh, God, sorry. I'm allowed one Braun Breakker's name is stupid rant per month. That's my quota. So I will not do this again until May, I promise. But I might want to up the quota, though, of Braun Breakker is going to be dominating the top story on Raw for the next year. Maybe they can run, maybe Paul Heyman can, say, we've hated this name, WWE, so he is now named Rex Steiner. That could actually happen. Maybe Paul Heyman changes his name on the next, I had history with the Steiners. How dare you take that name away from him with the history that it has? This is a Steiner and he belongs in the Dangerous Alliance. Oh, they might do that. That would make me so happy. I'm dreaming. I am dreaming. They're not going to do that. But wouldn't it be great if they did? Did I miss another one from Mike? You got another 5, Mike. Thanks, dude. Maybe Roman has a couple more cousins he can call to fight off the Dangerous Alliance, New Bloodline versus Dangerous Alliance at War Games in San Diego. Is it Ryan? Somebody on Twitter tonight told me there's not going to be a War Games, and I don't remember why we know that. Did they tell us that? Why do we think that? Because that kind of sounds vaguely familiar, like maybe WWE told us, or maybe they're putting War Games back in NXT. But I don't remember. But maybe that's what they're building towards, you know, a big War Games match, but that's November. We're in April here. But yeah, San Diego War Games is going to be fun, or San Diego Survivor Series is going to be fun. Rodrigo's got 2 for us. Imagine Obafemi to join Paul Heyman. That would be wild. That might be too much. You got to take it easy because you got Oba and Braun Breakker in there. I think that would just pose too many early problems. Yeah, I want Obafemi to be like a massive star, but I think the whole point of this is to kind of get Breaker over. And I don't know if you could put two of them in there. That would be a good, fun match, though. It's going to happen one day. Obafemi, Braun Breaker. Excited for it. Shawn Spears and the New Day. No, I don't want Paul Heyman's Dangerous Alliance to turn into the NWO. I mean, you might need a tag team, and you might need another guy like a mid-card belt guy, but I don't know if I like those options. I think it's got to be somebody more fun or more dominant. I mean, maybe. I mean, Shawn Spears might fit a little bit. It might give him something to do. It might not be that bad of an idea. New Day would feel weird if it was them. Five more from Mike. Unlike the Bloodline, I hope they create an equal face faction to feud with the Dangerous Alliance like DX and Nation feud. Yeah, that sounds like what they're probably going to do. I hope it's just not going to like a glob of dudes. Like at first it's Roman and Punk, and then somebody else will get in on it as well. We'll see how it all plays out. I mean, we got Money in the Bank coming. We got SummerSlam. There's lots of stuff. Oh, yeah, Roxanne. I forgot. Did I not mention her when I was talking about all that stuff? So many people were running in. Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't mention Roxanne. But I mentioned Ripley coming out and making the save, and I thought that it was cool. Oh, you're talking about when I said all the women. I didn't consider Roxanne that exciting. I know I like Roxanne's fine and whatever, but I wasn't marking out for her in the ring. I was marking out for the others. To me, it was cooler to see Stephanie, Julia, Io, and Ripley in the ring. And I know Roxanne was there too, but I didn't care about her. I thought it was way cooler to see the other ones in there. And I like Roxanne and everything. It was just I don't mark out for her as hard as those other ladies. Danny Downbad, you're kind of worried because we've just got done with a super faction. I think that's kind of the point. I think they kind of want a big faction to be prominent on TV. There's a lot of TV hours to fill, so I think that's a big part of it. They have something that they can always go to and continue that story with this faction. And now the Judgment Day has kind of ran its course, or it's still together, but barely. They need a new top faction. Doesn't look like the Wyatt Six really panned out. So 2025 being the year of the Dangerous Alliance on Raw, and on SmackDown, you've got John Cena doing his thing. And then occasionally you have these two things bump into each other, can create some very interesting next few months. And I'm looking forward to it. So right on. That's pretty much a wrap, unless was there any news I omitted earlier? Yeah, I did talk about, there's a couple things we should mention. So the Pat McAfee show was today, and Paul Heyman was kind of sassy on it. He insulted Michael Cole pretty hard, which is kind of funny. And then he went off on the fans and was shouting obscenities at them, even had a remark about Shannon Sharp, who I guess is being sued in some $50 million sexual harassment or assault suit or something like that. And he made mention of that, and Pat was like, yo, calm down. So Heyman was getting all kinds of sassy. And John Cena also was on ESPN as well, and he was talking about his retirement. They asked him if his retirement was real. My dad was texting me earlier asking me the same thing, like, if you think he'll really retire? I'm like, well, he's saying he is, but it'd be silly to sit there and believe a retirement when we've never really seen a legitimate one, unless it's an injury that forces you and doctors will never clear you again. Then those retirements usually stick, although Edge came back. But it would be silly just to straight up believe him. But John Cena has been pretty adamant about this in his interviews. He goes, I am done. He even admits that he's slowed down. He doesn't look the same. Physically, he's not the same person and performer that he was. And he knows that he's not going to be able to do this into his 50s, and he doesn't intend to. And at the end of the year, no matter what, he is done, and no amount of money will bring him back, is what he said. And that's a pretty bold statement, because I can definitely see John Cena coming out for an impromptu match at WrestleMania 52 and wrestling and winning a 3-minute match wearing a t-shirt, because by then he does not want to take his shirt off. And I can totally see that happening. But even with Austin, Austin stuck to his. Look at how long Austin and Shawn kept their words, because they weren't physically forced out. Doctors didn't say you can't wrestle anymore. They just retired. And they both really stuck to their word. And even Austin in 2022 came back and had that one match. And then Shawn came out of retirement in Saudi Arabia for the big payday. So it always happens. But I think Cena is going to be Mr. Movie Guy now. And I think that's the next phase and chapter of his life. And I think he's one guy that I'm willing to believe him when he says he's not going to be coming back. This will be the end. I believe that he's going to stick to his word. But right now he's a heel, so he's a lying sack of shit anyway. But he's kind of been saying that. And they made this announcement all the way back like last July. So I feel like the decision was made back then. One more year run to finish off the wrestling chapter of my life. That's the way I'd want to do it. And so I feel like this has kind of been planned for a while. But the heel turn has made everybody rethink stuff. Well, maybe the whole thing is a damn swerve. Maybe at the end of the year he's going to be like, I'm not going anywhere. And he just faked us out the whole year. But they're selling tickets on his retirement run. They're talking about this last time he's going to be in this city, last time he's going to be in that city. So to then undo all that would be, kind of shitty. But I think he's going to stick to it. And he says that it does not matter. Like, this is going to be it. And then they're tying that into his angle in the storyline too, because he said, I'm going to leave with this. It's 36 dates. That gets down to 0 and I still have this, then you will never see this belt and this entire championship lineage ever again. You got to make an all new belt. Now the World Heavyweight title is your top title. Think about a WWE like that. Yikes. Also, they ran that Tony Hinchcliffe, whatever that fucker's name is, they ran that stupid roast last night after WrestleMania, and there was a couple of tidbits coming out on this from Fightful Select and WrestleVotes. WrestleVotes said this, and I quote, "They let me in this thing, 2 hours of jokes that included some sexual puns and F-bombs. Paul Heyman stole the show. Triple H ended the night with a surprise appearance. Linda McMahon was in attendance. Others who spoke included R-Truth, Miz, Sami Zayn, Pat McAfee, Braun Strowman, and Nia Jax. Don't hold your breath for this to ever make air." Fightful Select said, and I quote, "There was a strict no recording policy at the Mania roast. This is pretty common for comedy and stage shows, but more common for ones where material is reused as opposed to one-offs. David Lucas, Sami Zayn, Nia Jax, Braun Strowman appeared there. Those that watched it said they'd be surprised if it got released." So at least we didn't have to see that. They showed that Hinchcliffe guy at WrestleMania. He got booed loudly, and I think TKO is realizing that the UFC fan base and WWE fan base are not the same. The people that are going to get cheered at those shows are going to get booed at WWE shows. And that makes me happy because I don't like the UFC audience. I would never go to a UFC event and just be around all those fucking pathetic dudes. I just don't want to go. I'm not interested in the sport whatsoever. And I just don't care about punchy face. I just don't. So I'm at least happy that the assholes that seem to be celebrated on that side of the fan base fence are not celebrated on this side. And apparently that roast was never going to be released anyway. So maybe one day, some video, somebody was secretly bootlegging and recording up in the, up in the corner, and we can get a look at it. No update on that lady that Steve Austin ran over at WrestleMania. You guys don't know, Austin came out in his four-wheeler last night to do the attendance, and he came speeding around. I was worried he's going to roll off the edge of the ramp. He just goes down like a bat out of hell. Drives around, hits the barricade, and some woman takes a tumble, and she was all butthurt about it, all mad. And it doesn't look like she was really hurt. She might have flopped, but Nick Khan ran right over there to try to do damage control instantly, and she was kind of being an asshole about it. And I said, if she was hurt, then I'm sorry, and she's got every right to be mad. But if she just fell backwards, she should be more amused by that than angry. And if Austin was drinking, was that a DUI? It might have been. I'm not sure what the laws are in Las Vegas, but maybe he could get a DUI for driving while impaired and vehicular assault. Jesus Christ. So hopefully all is good there. I think they smoothed it over. She was still at ringside for the rest of the show. I tried to look up an update on her today, but I didn't see anything. So hopefully all is well with Karen. Also, as we heard this weekend, humongous news, WWE acquiring AAA. And I'm worried. I don't know what that means. I think that's huge news, in terms of WWE preserving some pretty fucking amazingly famous and historic video footage. My God, the Triple Eight tape library. I don't think we'll ever see La Parca coming out to Thriller on WWE TV. But my God, that's a big library that I'm hoping the fans will get a chance to enjoy on some platform, somewhere, some way. And it was reported also that Jeremy Borash, he's going to be involved in the creative on WWE's end of this stuff. And of course, they got the big Worlds Collide show coming up in June. So still don't know how, what all this means. TKO buying it, I'm hoping, is a little bit different than how it would be if WWE would have purchased AAA a few years back. I want the promotion to be able to maintain its independence, and I haven't really read any of the details on the sale and how it's going to go and how AAA is going to function going forward. But pretty big news. That's huge. That's freaking huge. Also, WWE has announced that they're going to be beginning a new Netflix docuseries. It's going to be released this summer. It's called WWE Unreal, and I guess they're going to pull back the curtain on the creative process. So for fans who get annoyed about, the way kayfabe is just completely dead, it's more dead. We've pulled kayfabe. We've pulled the corpse of kayfabe out of the ground, out of the coffin, and we are beating it with a baseball bat. That's what we're doing here. So WWE Unreal, we're now going to see creative meetings. There was one clip where it showed Triple H basically telling Jey Uso, "We're going to strap a rocket to you," and so you're going to see all this now. It's going to be interesting. I find a lot of the behind the scenes stuff fascinating. I did more so back in the day. I'm sure there's going to be some of this that's going to be really interesting, but the fan in me is going to be just like, I can't believe, that this would blow my mind in 1991 if some shit like this came out, like what? So yeah, WWE Unreal coming to a Netflix screen near you this summer. So PW Insider is reporting also that Kathy Kelly, the lovely Kathy Kelly, who we love, we do a moment of silence for Kathy Kelly every time we see her. She's been training at the Performance Center in the ring. Little, cute, delicate Kathy Kelly. Please be careful with her. So she's been involved in promo classes and in-ring training for a while, and the idea is that they would potentially use Kelly in a manager-type role if they decide to go in that direction. This is according to PW Insider. So I really like Kathy in her role. If she has a desire to do more, then great. I hope they let her do more. I'd like to see how she would be, because she's pretty straight. She's just a very innocent, nice, and she does her job well. But I'm trying to imagine her like in a character, like if she's going to have her volume turned up, and she's either going to be a heel or a face valet for a team. What's her attitude and personality going to be like? Is she going to be sassy? Because right now she's just very professional. She's very professional. So interested to see if that materializes in any way, but best of luck to Kathy Kelly. I hope whatever it is a success for her, because we love Kathy Kelly. Other than that, though, I got nothing really else in my notes. I mean, an overall recap of WrestleMania, like we said, I probably am going to give the show just under a 7 out of 10. I felt like it was a little bit underwhelming. I wanted a little bit more out of these matches. Some of these matches delivered, but a lot of them I feel like we got what we expected, and where some of them surprised you as well. But overall, like on night one, for example, the main event we know delivered. That was fantastic. That was a lot of that was story, and the big double heel turn by Heyman, turning on both both Punk and Roman was excellent, with Seth winning. But the undercard was kind of, underwhelming. I did like Jacob Fatu winning the United States title. That was actually a good moment. But everything else was kind of just like, okay. El Grande Americano versus Rey Fenix was just a match that was fine. They could have just done the same thing on SmackDown. I was very pleased with Tiffany Stratton defeating Charlotte Flair basically clean. That made me happy, because I was really nervous that was going to go the other way. I even predicted it to go the other way. So the outcome of that match made me happy. The match itself was okay, but not great. And, Jay and Gunther was a little bit better than I expected, but I already expected it to suck. So it was only good. And I was just really happy for Jay, happy for him to get that moment. but none of that up until the main event really felt like WrestleMania worthy. If you watch the War Raiders and New Day match, it's fine in the ring. It's exciting enough, but I would have rather saw the ladder match, the TLC match, So a lot of it was just, we had matches that weren't bad at all. I would feel like an asshole fan if I was shitting on the performances here. The matches weren't bad, but I'm watching these matches from the viewpoint of somebody who's watching WrestleMania. I'm expecting WrestleMania caliber things and finishes and spots to happen. And we didn't really get that until the main event when Heyman aligned with Rollins. Night 2, it was kind of the reverse. The undercard was a little bit better. We opened up with the triple threat, closed with a triple threat night 2, opened with one on night 1, and the girls did a great job. Io and Rhea and Bianca had a tremendous match. I loved the finish. I loved Io winning. I loved everything about that, and right off the bat, night 2 kind of gave you a little bit better of a vibe. Oh, we're going to be off to a much better start here. Tonight's going to pay off, and if we crush it tonight, then this WrestleMania, I believed, would go down as one of the better ones in history. But night 2 needed to deliver, and it felt like it was on pace to do that. The Sin City Street Fight was good, and I know Priest and McIntyre killed themselves, so I'm not going to disrespect them by saying I didn't like the match, but I wanted some blood, man. I wanted these guys to have this just refuse to die war, and I wanted them to give me, somebody who's got a terrible effing memory, I wanted them to give me something that I will remember 5 years from now, because I'm not going to remember this 5 days from now. And it just wanted a little bit more. Good table bumps. We saw some good stuff. They took some punishment. Don't get me wrong. And I'm sure both of them are sore as hell and they don't feel good. And I appreciate the effort. I just wish WWE would have let them get a little bit of color, something that would make this match stand out a little bit more, and nothing about it really stood out to me. It was just a good street fight, and we get a lot of good street fights. We get those on TV all the time. So I started to wonder, I'm like, is WrestleMania just not as magical as it once was? Do they not really care about going out there and doing things a little bit extra special anymore? I know not every match can be like that, but I was just kind of expecting a little bit more. Logan Paul and AJ Styles was boring as hell. Boring as hell. And I was hoping that Logan and AJ and Priest and McIntyre would stand out a bit and give us, something more than we might expect from them. So where Priest and McIntyre kind of just straight delivered and over-delivered and under-deliver, Logan Paul and AJ definitely under-delivered. The IC four-way was great. That was all kinds of fun. Some people have that as the best match on the whole WrestleMania card of both nights. That's cool if that's your opinion. I'm not going to argue with you. That one was fun, and the crowd was into it. And Dominic got his moment. They did the same finish they did in the triple threat, with Dominic coming in the frog splash, the same way Io came in with the moonsault. Dominic winning the title, and I love the encore. The encore. He's leaving. He runs back and has the moment with the fans. Oh, my God, so good. So happy for Dom. That almost made the whole show worth it for me. Becky Lynch coming back. Again, a little bit of a letdown. This is WrestleMania. You telegraphed the hell out of this. You knocked out Bayley on the kickoff show of night 1. And then I think it was Aldis or whoever, it was like, you got 24 hours to find a partner. Well, duh. We know who this is going to be. Don't be silly. So, at least I would have knocked out Bayley right before they were going out to the ring or something. And then had Becky come out just so it just catches us a little bit more off guard. But Aldis wasn't even done talking yet. All you had to do was see Bayley laying there. And the fans were like, Becky, so everybody saw this coming. And since everybody saw this coming, I thought maybe it was going to be somebody else. And I said, man, if it turns out to be Tessa Blanchard, I'm going to shit a pot pie, a frozen pot pie, complete with the box and everything. I can't have that. And so I was kind of relieved to see Becky, so it wasn't Tessa. They've shown Dana White in the crowd. They've shown that Colby fucker, they've shown a lot of assholes, a lot of terrible people in the crowd. They platform Hulk Hogan. So sure, I could totally see that happening. Wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. But, Randy Orton too, his his open challenge was one that I was excited about because I thought for sure you have to bring back a Rusev or an Aleister Black at this point, because now you're doing an open challenge. If it was somebody that Orton was going to beat, I thought they would bring him out on SmackDown. But Turned out to be Joe Hendry. Crowd did love that. I thought it was perfect because it gave Randy Orton somebody to beat, and we saw Randy Orton attack John Cena tonight. So that all worked out. Randy Orton still kept his win, and he got to work a much easier match because I think him and Kevin Owens probably would have done a lot of things. There would have been table bumps. They would have been brawling. They would have taken some serious punishment, probably some weapons. Was it a no disc? Was there no rules in that match? I forgot. But either way, Randy would have had a much tougher of an affair with Owens than he did with Hendry. But he got the win, and that made me happy too. And then, of course, main event. What can you say? John Cena beating Cody Rhodes. I thought it would take more. I thought John Cena would have 26 tricks up his sleeve. I thought we'd see The Rock. I thought we would see Travis Scott. I thought we would see Stone Cold coming down to stun The Rock. I thought we would see Mantar coming out. I thought everything was going to happen, and the finish was kind of dumb and a little bit simple to where all it took was Cody to turn his head a little bit and take a nut shot from John Cena. It was a kick or forgot. Might have just been a kick. But it was when Cena had the belt, Cody stopped him, had to grab the belt away from him, and then Cody has to decide to use the belt or not, and he can't decide, and he's conflicted, and he kind of turns his head. Cena nails him in the crotch, picks him up, AA, wins the championship, and that was so underwhelming. I didn't even mind Cena winning the title because, as we saw tonight, this Randy Orton match is probably going to be pretty intriguing, and I was excited for what John Cena as champion could bring to the storylines. That's going to be fun. Where if Cody won, I would still be okay with that, but, now I feel like you're going to be treading water and just doing a lot of the same old right after WrestleMania when there's usually a downtime anyway. So this keeps everything up and fresh. I think SmackDown's got a fun story with Cena's run. Raw's got a good story with the Dangerous Alliance, and we might have a pretty pleasant 2025 here. But the execution of the title win last night was boring as all hell. I know it's part of John Cena's character now to disappoint us and purposely give us minimal effort, the least amount of effort possible to get the job done, to get the work done. He's going to take every shortcut, every easy way out he can, and he's not going out there to dazzle us. He wants to bore us. He wants to bore us to pieces, which is an excellent cover story for him kind of not being who he used to be in the ring. So now when these matches are bad and boring, fans can say, well, that's what he wants. So, but not only was the match just not really great, it wasn't dramatic enough for me. We had Cody kicking out of a shitload of AAs, but it still wasn't dramatic enough for me. And all it took was that one dick kick belt shot in AA to do Cody in. Granted, he had already kicked out of a lot by then, but still, that's it. Travis Scott came down there to take a crossroads, but I thought Travis Scott was the beginning of it. I'm so happy we don't have to hear that song again. My God. Meep. So we had to hear that. So I just thought that meant Rock was coming out behind him. And it was disappointing. It was a disappointing main event tonight, too. And I think if that would have been a great, great, great match, then WrestleMania would go down as a great one of all time. Now, some of you have been messaging me and tweeting me and saying you've loved WrestleMania. I saw some of you giving it like 8.5s. So if you enjoyed this WrestleMania, good. I think it's so stupid for fans who yell at fans, you enjoyed that show? What the fuck? I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Trust me. I'm glad that people out there enjoyed it more than me because I try not to be too critical. But for me, for my taste, I didn't really like the main event of night 2. And even though the whole show in general did have its moments, one of the more weaker Manias in my personal opinion. But if it's one of the best for you, trust me, I'm happy for you, bro. I'm happy that you liked it. I'm not angry, and I don't think you're stupid. I am happy for you. And I'm bummed that I didn't like it as much as you did. We've got 2 more from Mike. Rock on McAfee tomorrow could be... He's on McAfee tomorrow? Stayed away all WrestleMania. Now he's showing back up. You got 5 more earlier. Imagine Cody wins belt from Cena, and right after he throws the belt down and cuts a heel promo like Shane Douglas in ECW back in the day. Then we've got him turning heel. Oh, man. And then maybe Cena and Cody reverse roles for the final few weeks of Cena's run. That would be weird. Thank you, new one, for the 5. Oh, yeah, they decided to not have the roast be televised. That's probably for the best. Max Pokebra, $2. Thanks for that. How about Ethan Page joining Paul Heyman? Perhaps. It depends on how big they want this alliance to grow. You know, if they want it to be small and tight and big stars, then probably just one more guy. But if they want a faction of like 5, then you got some good options out there. And so far, I've liked your selections. You could throw Karrion Kross in there too, as Killer Kross. Mike's got 5 more. They should have just had Nikki and Alexa challenge for the tag belts last night, in my opinion. Yeah, they just didn't have time to like put all that together for whatever reason. We thought that's what they were going to do, but I wouldn't have wanted them to do that on the final Raw. Oh, here's the tag team. I would have wanted to see the story of Nikki and Alexa coming together. So that might still be something they do, but maybe they just felt they didn't have time to do that before Mania. I have no idea. But yeah, I would have preferred that too. And I would have preferred Bayley be on the card. Bayley could have just done an open challenge and Becky could have answered it. And there you go. All right, I think I got to all of them. Oh, yeah, R.I.P. to the Pope. I saw the Pope died. I've been through a few popes. And I'm not sure how many popes I've lived through, but I've lived through a few popes. Some of them have died. Some of them have... some of them got released. Some in future endeavored. Some quit. All right, I'm just making sure there were no other super chats I missed earlier. I don't think so. Right on. Okay, guys. Well, that's it. That's a wrap on another WrestleMania week. Thank you so much for spending it with me. It was fun. We've been through a lot of these together. They're always a blast. And thank you so much for hanging out for this very long Raw review, because I kind of wanted to recap the weekend too, just talk about a few of those matches and some of the things that we saw on night 1 and night 2 and see if I felt any differently about them. And I really don't. I kind of stand by how I felt coming out of the show, out of WrestleMania. And regardless of how, maybe underwhelming this one was, it's always fun to do this. It's a blast. And thank you so much for hanging out. All of these nights of streaming, we were here for predictions, for Hall of Fame, which I had to cut short. Couldn't even make it through Triple H's speech because I had things to do. We were here for 5 hours on night 1, 5 hours on night 2, 2 hours tonight. It's been an absolute blast. You guys are the best. I love hanging out with you guys, talking about wrestling, and doing this. It's the best. You guys are awesome. When is the next time you're going to see me? I need a little bit of a break here to rewind or to unwind a little bit and maybe rewind. Definitely need a few days to unwind here, but I will get back in the swing of things. We'll definitely be back here on Saturday for a podcast. And you might see me before then as well in case we get any big news breaking. We will see. I am off tomorrow. I'll have my eye on NXT. But otherwise, I'm just going to decompress for a couple of days, de-wrestling myself, try to watch other things on a screen that's not pro wrestling just for at least the next 48 hours, cleanse my palate, and then boom, I'll be right back. Balls to the wall, as always. And thanks for just being here, and thanks for all your support. You guys are the best. Have a great rest of your Monday. And thanks for everything. I'll catch y'all real soon. Peace. Hello, Tito.